you are an entrepreneur, a professional, a speaker, or a coach, and although you've come a long way, it's time for you to take it to the next level. We've got you. This is the Author to Authority podcast. We'll help you use authority and influencer marketing to build your business stronger and faster by publishing a book. You'll hear from guests that are thought leaders in sales, marketing, networking, communication, social media, promotion, and business leadership. Let's do it. This is the Author to Authority podcast. And now your host, the extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson-Pinder.
Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. Today, I am so excited. Joe is back. The last time Joe was on the show was May of 2023, so it's been over a year, Joe. I can't believe it.
It goes by quick. I appreciate you having me back on, Kim. It's been a fun watching your show and watching what you do since over the past years. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks for having me back.
Thanks, Joe. Now, since 2017, sales coach and game-changing trainer to top producers, Joe has guided hundreds of clients across multiple industries to double or triple production without working harder. His point of differentiation, delicious word, I like delicious words, is his emphasis on mastering the art of emotional connection. So building on 35 plus years of direct selling experience and well over 30,000 sales calls, he empowers top performers to follow his earnings sales system to bring about decisive and lasting results. Joe, it's so great to have you back.
Yep, I'm excited. It's cool to be able to really focus in on something I think that's missing in sales. That's the relationship piece and how to make that emotional connection.
I couldn't agree more. So, Joe, it's been a year or so. Let's just do a quick catch up here. What's been going on in your life?
Well, since we talked, nothing really that earth-shattering, I guess, except for I did finish my book, How to Sell Nothing, the logical way to make the emotional sale. And it kind of walks through the importance of the soft skills of not necessarily selling logically, but able to make that emotional connection or that emotional relationship.
You know, one of the things that I teach is, it's not just the know, like, and trust factor. They've got to believe. Yeah. And that comes from the heart, right? Like, belief is not in here. Belief is down in the heart. So I so totally agree with that. And today we are going to talk about how to make the emotional sale. So first of all, Joe, let me just ask you, most of us have been taught some sort of sales system that includes scripts or, it's A, B, C, D, and you don't variate from A, B, C, D. But in your opinion, does that make sales work?
Yes and no. How's that for a safe answer for us? Dodge that bullet. I think that, and I'll just even go to the piece that I do, the earning piece. It's an acronym, but you can mix up the letters. I mean, I think about it like, the night before battle, you have a battle plan, everything looks good. The battle starts, you take the plan, you chuck it out the window. Same as a sales call. We all think sales calls do. What's that?
It's kind of like parenthood. You think you know everything until the kid comes? Even
then, I don't even know if we think we know everything then, but it's like that.
Yeah, and then child 2 comes, right?
Yes. And I got 4, so I know that really well. But it's being able to be flexible in your presentation. There are certain points in a sale that we want to make. We want to have our topics we want to touch on. Does not matter the order as much, but we do want to cover all of them. So I think it's kind of, yes, they have a plan, but you want to be flexible and kind of be nimble and actually even tailor it to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you talked about your earning sales system. What does each letter stand for?
Well, it's real simple. We have to earn the right to get the next step, whatever that is. And we want to avoid coming up and being a show up, throw up type of salesperson. That doesn't work, but that's very common. I've done this. I brag how good and great and wonderful I am. But this just skips that. I'll even say in one of my first sales calls, so Joel, tell me what you do. And I say, I work with executives and top sales producers, help them grow their personal business or their teams. But if it's all right with you, can I skip over the part about me bragging about myself and how good and great and wonderful I am? I'd like to ask you some questions. and I just bounce it right back to them because they don't really care what I've done.
No.
Then I go into the earning piece, and it's EARNING, and each letter stands for a topic I want to touch on. The first one is E, where I want to evaluate their current reality. What are they currently doing? And I think that's our data gather. And I think we're pretty good at doing that. But I look at it mentally. I want to ask enough questions. So if I'm making an apples to apples comparison, I want them to know that I know what type of apples we're starting with. If I'm showing them something else, apples to oranges, I still need to know enough questions so I know what type of apple. They know that I know what type of apples they're starting with. So that's E, evaluate their current reality. I think we do a pretty good piece with that.
I just stop you there, Joe, just for a sec, because, people say, well, it's an apple. But, I love Red Delicious. It's my preferred apple. Do not hand me, okay, I might eat a green Delicious, but don't hand me any other green type of apple because I don't like them. Yep. And, it was funny. I was at a workshop last week and we were using these apple sticky notes and each color represented something. And then at the end, he just said, grab a sticky note, and we had to evaluate something and then post what we thought about it on the sticky note, and we plunked it onto the wall and wherever they wanted us to. So I was just watching everybody plunk their thing. So we had 3 colors. We had red, we had dark green. Now I called it light green. The guy called it yellow, and we're like, no, it's light green. But anyway, I watched everybody. Can you guess which color of sticky note pretty well 90% of the people picked up?
I think they're going with the red.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, when you were talking there, what I got thinking about is the fact that, not all apples are the same. Mm-hmm. So even when you're talking an apple to apple comparison, you can even dive down even that little bit further because, you have your sweet apples, like, the delicious, you have your kind of in between apples, which are, the good ones to bake with. And then you have like the sour apples, which I never touch, right? But understanding that even in an apple to apple comparison, you still have to dive deeper because there's even more there still.
Absolutely. There's 2 thoughts. One, me having them tell me what type of apples I have is good, but it's them communicating that. That's part of the relationship. That is the big value. It doesn't matter what type of apples they have, but I want them to know that I'm taking time to listen. That's the E. The A goes right to what you're talking about. The A stands for what are the advantages of your current apples. We'll just use that example. What do you like about them? And a lot of times I get pushback saying, Joe, I don't want to ask that question because I'm trying to sell them these other apples, but I'm asking, what do they like about their apples they're using right now? And I love asking that because it differentiates me from everybody else. I get different results. My clients get different results because we do things different. 2, by asking, what do they like about the apples they're having right now? That screams confidence. And I'm not going to the kitchen. I'm going right where it's hot. And business is given to confident people. But the biggest reason, by me asking what do you like about your apples? You are literally telling me your hot buttons. Whatever you like, I got to make sure my apples have it too. And when I close on that in 5 minutes or 5 weeks or 5 months, I got to know that. So what are the advantages? Why do you like your current apples? Big piece on that. That makes sense?
Yeah. Like it.
So it's E and the A. And the R is revise. What do you want to change? This is the major reason why they're going to change and go forward. There's something causing them. I don't lead off with it. I need to ask what they're currently doing. What do they like? And then I ask, hey, what do we need to change? N is no. Who else can say no to this? This is a process. Who are the other decision makers? There are some times I will back out of a presentation if I don't have them sitting there in the room. Sometimes you can't. You got to do it professionally. But I really want to know, and I think it's a fair question for us to ask that because I'm pitching. I need to know who else is in there. And it's the most frustrating thing in sales is to give a good pitch. And they say, well, I need to go talk to my boss and see what she wants to do. It's like, well, great. Now I got to come back in and pitch and do my dog and pony show again for her. Or worse, you're going to sell my product for me and you're not an expert on it. You're going to sell me for me and you're not an expert on it. So I want to know who else can say no.
I think sometimes, I think that's what differentiates, sort of a salesperson from a sales professional, because, a salesperson just wants the sale. And then sometimes they're so desperate for it. They're like, okay. Well, make sure you go tell them. But the thing is, like you said, that person really can't represent you and, and your products and your services. But the bigger issue is they could get it wrong. They could be representing you wrong. So then, that causes issues later down the road because the boss is expecting, A, B, and C, and you're actually D, E, and F, and that can create a lot of issues. So I like the fact that, whenever possible, you actually stop the presentation until you can get it in front of the right people. I think that's incredibly important. Sometimes I tend to deal with individuals. So sometimes the biggest person I have to deal with is the spouse.
Yep.
Now, sometimes I can't get to talk to the spouse, but I always offer. I tell the potential client that, listen, if your spouse has questions, then let's do another call. I will gladly come on, answer any questions, and I think that reassures them that, I'm not just trying to make the sale, that I care.
Right. Well, the next piece actually touches on that. The I is literally, I interpret back what they just said. And I say, hey, just for clarity, I just want to repeat back what you just said. And I go, what do they evaluate the current reality and repeat it back? I ask what they like about it, and I ask what they like to change. And I repeat it all the way back. Well, that does two things. If they got to go back and talk to their spouse, I've just given them some reasons on what to say, some ammunition, how to answer. I've kind of primed the pump for them. But the other part is it gets them where it's really a servant selling mentality, where I've literally just repeated back, and I'll hear things like, well, Pallo, you said it better than I did. And what a great spot to be in. I'm just repeating back what they said, but also mentally, I'm on the same side of the table as they are. And I have not even started selling yet. It's a great spot to be in. If there's one key piece, take time, just interpret back what you just heard and just watch the reaction. It's just a huge, huge piece in that.
I think one of the things that's really important there is that active listening skill. So you're not listening to respond or overcome objections or whatever. You're listening to understand. And then, of course, you prove that by being able to say what they want back to them. But another point, it shows that you care, that you're actually invested in them and what they do. And that is a differentiator, because most of the time, people in the sales process, they don't want to feel like they're being sold to. So when you're not trying to overcome objections, you're not trying to push facts and figures, you're just actively listening. You're paying attention to what they're saying, and then you repeat it back to them. That just screams, Well, it screams confidence, but it also just screams that you care about them enough to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, I agree. I actually even coach on this point. Whoever is talking is buying. In a selling situation, if I'm trying to sell you and I'm talking more than you are, I'm literally buying your objections. Now, I flip that around by asking all these questions, going through the earning piece. You're talking more than me. If they're talking more than me, they're buying whatever's in my bag. And it's just to think about how many times on our sales calls, if they didn't go the way we wanted them to, ask yourself, who did most of the talking? Odds are you did. I'll even say this, that doctors really can't fix you until you tell them how and why. I can't sell anyone until they tell me how and why. That's just kind of, why are you going to take a doctor's prescription if you haven't shared with them what's going on? You have no reason to take his prescription. Well, same as with sales. They're not going to take my recommendations because I have no reason. I need them to tell me how to sell them.
I love it. 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 And the great thing about, what I'm hearing here, Joe, is that these are teachable skills. I think sometimes, we can get into our head, I can't learn sales. I'm not a salesperson, the I'm nots.
Yep.
But sales is about skills. Now, don't get me wrong. You can have a natural charisma. You could have, a natural ability to connect with people, those kinds of things. But that's not going to, okay, sometimes you can sell on that. But let's be honest, okay? There's people that can sell ice to, Eskimos because they have that kind of charisma. But you don't have to have that kind of charisma to be a good salesperson. You just have to learn the skills. One of the things I remember, I was in network marketing and MLM for a period of time. Back then, there wasn't a lot of work from home opportunities, and it was important for me to stay home with the kids. So, as much as, wouldn't be something for me today, I was very grateful for it back then because it gave me an opportunity to earn money. But I remember I finally joined a company where they had a mentorship program. So they actually had managers whose job it was to teach you how to sell and how to recruit. And I was so happy because I had been wanting for so long for someone to teach me. Every company I joined, the person promised that they would mentor me. I just needed to learn the skills. I was willing to do, okay, as long as it was morally, legally, and ethically, okay, I was willing to do whatever I was told. And so I finally joined this company, and she looked at me and she just said, Kim, she said, sales is about the skills. And she says, I can teach you the skills. So she taught me what to say. So in the beginning, I was a script person. I liked having scripts. I memorized scripts, but then as I used the script, I made it my own. I adjusted it, but at least the scripts helped me get started. It gave me a starting place, right? But what she taught me were the soft skills. Yep. She taught me to listen. She encouraged me to ask questions. Yep. It was all of these types of things that finally enabled me to become a part of the top sales team in my company. You know, we had tiered sales programs, and I was in the top tier of salespeople in my company. And I was so thankful that I was mentored and trained and taught the skills. So, you know, if you're listening today and you're thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm not the greatest salesperson. Well, you know, you need to connect with Joe, because the second time I've had him on the show, you know, he knows his stuff. And so listen to this episode really carefully. Go back, check out what Joe has for you, because these are skills that you can learn and you can sell and you can run your business and be successful. So anyway, that was my Joe plug for today.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll piggyback on that. I'm not really that good of a salesperson, but people buy from me all the time. I think that's what you're saying. And this earning piece.
Well, no, I was saying you were a good salesperson. I wasn't saying you weren't a good salesperson.
Well, maybe say I don't word that differently. I don't believe I sell my clients that often, but they buy all the time. Yes. And that earning piece is very transferable. It can go into the sale. I'm a dialogue person too, but there's a lot of things going on behind it. It can mesh with most sales talks that you already have. You're doing bits and pieces, but the bigger idea is we're getting some ideas of what needs to happen in the sale that we kind of miss in a dialogue. What you say is important, but once I know why I'm saying it, why I'm asking that question, I'm going to stay on that point until I get the answer so I can move forward.
Yeah. Now, I think we missed G. Did we miss G?
I was interpret back. The second N, nothing. What if nothing changes? That is a big question because it creates a sense of urgency. And when I ask that, I'm probably going to get fluff. Oh, we'll be about the same. I'm going to push back and make them a little bit uncomfortable. Say, well, tell me more about that. What do you mean? And really say, if this problem isn't fixed, what's it going to look like? And I want them giving me some answers on that. So that's the second N. And then the G is the gain, the pay value. Hey, if we fix this problem, if it took 2 hours off of your plate, what would you do with that time? And I do all of this before I even start talking about what I have and what my solutions are. And in the middle of this, there's a thing that it's in the book about dig-in questions. A dig-in question is just basically me saying, well, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? Well, why is that? And you can't do that because that's creepy and weird. But it is. But you can ask why is that a couple different ways. So in between where I'm going through the earning, I'm asking a dig-in question. Here's some examples. What else? That's a dig-in question. Can you tell me more about that? What does that look like? Can you say that again? Help me out with that. Can you give me an example? I will ask dig-in question after dig-in question because it's literally them not only telling me what they want, they're telling me why they want it. That's what I want to sell. How to sell nothing is getting them to figure out what they want and why they want it. I just sell that. It's that simple. And if we look at it, if we recorded a conversation, say if you and I are on a sales call and I'm on my game, I'm going through the earning process, every letter, and in between, I'm sprinkling in the digging questions. Help me out. What does that look like? Can you say that again? Give me an example. We recorded that whole conversation. Then we come back to your office. We play it back. We edit out my voice. We've got a person sitting there saying exactly what they're doing, what they like about it, what they want to change, who can make the decision, and why they want. I just sell what they just told me. I just sell that. It's that simple.
Okay, Joe, I don't know if this is the right spot, but we're starting to run out of time here. You told me you had a story about chicken poopies.
Yeah, this happened in college where a roommate and I, we sold some chicken manure, chicken poop to certified organic farmers. And we had a little convention and we went there. We had little baby jars filled with our chicken poop. And we're looking at it, and I look kitty corner of us, and someone did exactly the same thing. So I said, well, I'm going to go watch. I'm not confrontational, but I want to be educated. So I walked over to this guy just as other people were coming up, and I got to hear him do his pitch. And this guy knew his poop. I mean, his poop had the NPK value. He knew it could use the cattle feed supplement. He was going on and on, just bragging and giving all this logical stuff about his poop. And I'm looking at it saying, well, his poop better than our poop? We have good poop. Is there such thing as bad poop? I mean, isn't all poop bad? And realized that he knew a lot more about his product logically than what I did. So I came back to our booth and told my buddy, he said, hey, we're in deep poop because that guy knows his poop. We don't know any poop about our poop. And sure enough, about 10 minutes later, I see one of those guys who was just there coming right to our table. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be a poopy situation. I can't compete with that guy. So when he came up, I figured if he asked me one question, I can't really compete. I'm just going to keep asking him questions. That's exactly what I started doing. Well, how long have you been farming? What made you decide to go organic? What % of your farm is now organic? What's the biggest challenge? I'd ask question after question because I didn't know what to say if he asked me any questions. And I kept doing that for, it seemed like, 2 hours, probably like 4 minutes. And finally he says, well, I reckon I might not better ought to get some, which I took means he wants some. Ended up selling him a semi-load full of chicken poop. Right then and there, not knowing or talking a thing about my product. And that's what taught me we all sell the same poop. We all sell it the same way. It's me getting that relationship. That's why I get business. That's why I grow. That's how Sell Nothing works.
And I think, we're talking about that emotional sale. And I don't think one thing that we covered yet is, and you mentioned it in the story there, is the fact that, this other person had every single logical reason why their poop was more poopier than any other poop.
Right.
But yet it didn't connect or resonate because it was just all head stuff. Right.
Yep.
And I think we've been taught to sell to reach the brain. And you're talking about the fact that we've got to reach the heart. We've got to create that emotional connection first before. And I love that. And I don't think I'll ever forget that story, Joe. Like, it's just going to sit in my brain for a while.
Well, it's also proof that I'm a poopy salesperson. So, I can take that title, I guess. But you're right. It does. I mean, I look at it in sales. You need a logical sale or a logical bucket, an emotional sale, an emotional bucket. The logical bucket, I fill the salesperson with words. I fill that up. We get to a certain point, we're going to get the next step, provided we have the emotional bucket filled, but that's filled with their voice. That's the key. We get them talking what they want and why they want it. Just sell that.
Well, Joe, we're going to switch gears here because you are an author. Woo! Love it. Love it. So, Joe, first of all, tell us a little bit about your book, and then I'm going to ask you the question I ask every author that comes on the show.
Well, How to Sell Nothing, it took me about 2 years to write. Physically, I wrote it relatively quick. It was just that last stage. I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really let it to go. And I think it's more important is having a focus on the launching of the book than the actual publishing. It may sound a little bit different. Publishing we need to do, but if we don't have the successful launch and how much time and energy we need to focus into that, that's where the key is. You need a launch team on how to do that and how to do it appropriately and how to get your fans to support what you do. And I'm really realistic. It's just a $20 business card. That's my expectation. And I'm fine with that. And that's actually the expectation I think you want to have going out to people. And yes, we all want a New York Times bestseller, but that's not going to happen. I mean, we know that. It's got to be realistic, but the book is a way to start a conversation. That should be our main focus.
Love it.
It took me a while to figure that piece out, I guess.
So you ready for the question, Joe?
Let me know. Have at it.
All right. What was the good, the bad, and the ugly about writing, editing, and publishing that book?
The good was a method that I stumbled on where people will read my book and say, well, Pallo, that sounds like you. Well, it did because the first early stage of writing, I just had like my coaching topics. That's basically all ours chapters. I just recorded it. And there's an app that converts it to a Word document. That was the bones of my book. I went through each topic. That's how I got that point. I think it really gets some enthusiasm into that. So that's something that really went good. The bad is going to be the understanding the process. It takes a lot of work not writing the book. The work starts after it's done. And then the ugly part, it's really hard to say, but people aren't going to read your book. It hurts my pride to even say that, but we're just busy people. It's just they don't have time. I do recommend getting an audio copy of the book, because I'll mail a copy of a book to somebody. They may not have time to read it, but if they have an audio book, and I've got a guy for that, the audio book, that gets read a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I think it's managing your expectations of the book.
Yeah.
Right. Because some people will read the book. It's not that nobody reads it, but not
Correct.
Everybody reads it.
Correct.
But
that was an exaggeration, but it was hurtful for my pride. What do you mean you didn't read my book? I put all this time and work into it, and like, Pallo, back up. It's not about you. It's a good book. They'll get to it, but it's not going to do that. And most people don't read all the books anyway. If you have any statistics out there, and you may know better than I, most books are not completed.
Yeah. I think some of that has to do with how it's written, but can I give you a little sales hint I've learned about selling books, Joe?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what I teach my clients is you send the person the book, you wait 7 days.
Okay.
And then you call the person. And the reason you're calling the person, even though you've probably put tracking on this book, is you want to find out if they've received the book or not. So when you call them, hey, it's Kim from RTI Publishing. How are you? Just wanted to check in. Did you get the book yet? And usually they'll say yes, because I know they've got the book.
Right.
And I'll say to them, did you get a chance to read it yet? And sometimes yes, or, read any of it yet. Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. But I always ask the same type of question afterwards. So the question I ask is, I'm trying to do some research on, making this book the best it is. Do you mind telling me what really grabbed your attention about it so far? It's just like the questions you asked, Joe.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
Oh, go ahead. So
they tell me. Well, guess what? What grabbed their attention is usually the things they're having problems with.
Yep.
And then if they haven't read the book, I ask a similar question. Well, do you mind me just asking, what made you interested in the book in the first place? What were you hoping to get out of the book?
Right.
Again, it starts a conversation. So sending them the book actually gives you the perfect open door to have a conversation with them.
Absolutely. I'll piggyback onto that. I send out the book, then I follow up a call. I always ask and just get your opinion. If you want to get their thoughts, they don't have time to read it, but their opinion, they'll share that. So that helps out. But on my second conversation, if they haven't read it, because it can take a month or two if it's on their nightstand to get to that point. I've tried to shorten that selling cycle where I'll turn and say, well, just curious, you haven't got a chance to read the book. Do you prefer audiobooks? And I get another bite at the apple. They'll listen to that in a book, and I can call another week. Or I'm just working on this now. I'm creating a one-pager of each topic with just the problems and the quick solutions. They may not read the whole book, but when they get it, they have a one-pager, what's on it. Just like we said, we're just trying to engage and get that conversation, their opinion, their thoughts. So that's a good piece, is just what attracted you to that. We want to get them engaged and get them talking, because that's how we're going to sell them.
Yeah. So it's managing the expectations. The expectations, first of all, is you're not going to necessarily make money from selling the book, because in many cases you're giving it away. But secondly, the expectation is not that they read it, but that your book becomes a tool that opens the door to conversation.
Bingo.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can write a crappy book with a crappy cover. It has to be a well-done book, because even though they might only read a small part of it, that part that they read better be good, because if it's not, then that when you do call them, they're not going to want to talk to you.
Yeah. Oh, it's all I'm doing is trying to grab their attention with it to have a conversation. That's it. And game over. And my book did all right. It was #1 in Amazon in 3 different categories, but that's not the deal. The deal is the conversations. That's where I want to go to. How does it open doors for you?
Yeah. Love it, Joe. Love it. All right. We are almost at the end here. I can't believe it's been a half an hour already, Joe. It's gone by so fast. But I would love for you to share a final thought with us. And then if you have anything that, you want to direct the audience to, now's the perfect time.
Sure. I guess the most important thing is I strive to never speak, teach, sell, train, or coach until I get people emotionally engaged. It's worthless. They're not going to go forward. And if you want to have that one tip, and that earning piece with the digging questions does that, but I'm not going to go forward until I do that. So that would be my thought. If people want to go to convertsalesfaster.com, there's a free download of that earning piece. It's a free PDF. I recommend print it out, put it right by your keyboard. And as you're going through your sales conversations, there's bits and pieces of there that you can use. You could also go to sellnothing.co. That's my website, sellnothing.co, not .com, sellnothing.co. It has everything you want about me is on there as well.
Joe, it's been a pleasure and honor having you back on the show again. Thank you for coming and joining us.
I appreciate you coming back. And if we're interested, we can come back again some other time. We'll maybe not wait as long, but I've had fun. Enjoyed it.
I agree. We won't wait as long this time.
Good.
Let your VA know she needs to contact me in 6 months.
I will do that.
Audience, where are you going to go to next? Well, you know what? You're going to be going back quite a bit, but I want to direct you back to the first episode that Joe did back May 2023, which was 3 simple ways to engage potential clients. And so if you are watching here on YouTube, you know that my daughter has placed the thumbnail on the screen here for you to click. Unfortunately, if you're on a podcast app, you're going to be using your finger quite a bit to scan back. Or I highly recommend maybe just use the search function and search for 3 simple ways to engage potential clients. Thanks for watching today, and we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
You've been listening to the Author to Authority podcast. The extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson Pinder, has helped over 200 entrepreneurs, professionals, speakers, and coaches write and publish their books that have become incredible marketing tools for their business. And many of those have gone on to become Amazon best-selling authors and have used their books to land high-level clients and get on big stages. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at www.authortoauthoritypodcast.com. See you next time.